Sam, hey, I appreciate you joining me on InnSync. How you doing?
Hey, Cory. Thanks for having me on, man. Looking forward to the conversation.
Round two, man. I appreciate you joining me again on this. We had a great conversation last time. I can't wait to explore this other new topic, and it's why the events section of a hotel website is almost like an afterthought. And the setup is many hotels are losing opportunity with a very poor website experience on their meetings and events pages. How can hotels engage and build trust with prospects beyond just a simple RFP request? I've got Sam Dunning. He's with Breaking B2B out of the UK, and he's here to break it all down. How you doing, Sam? Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for me having back on round two. Clearly didn't annoy people on the first one. They must be a sucker for punishment, but yeah, looking forward to the chat.
Nice. Hey, we got another opportunity to annoy some more people. So let's maybe ratchet things up here a little bit. So I wanted to get your take. You are such an inspirational in terms of user experience, in particular with B2B websites, which is a completely different bird than a B2C website. So what problems do you see right off the bat from your experience with a hotel website on the meetings and events pages?
Yeah, so we had a bit of a convo just now, Cory, before you hit record. So you were telling me that, so I generally work with a whole spectrum of B2B service and technology businesses, but you were walking me through the fact that on hotel sites, quite a lot of the time, the B2B section is neglected. So if folks from B2B organizations want to organize some kind of event or set up some kind of conference at a hotel or similar venue, that aspect of the site is often neglected. So you're saying it's usually unclear. Someone might eventually find that section of the site, go onto it, and they're bombarded with a form that might say, submit your RFP to hear from one of our representatives or one of our salespersons. So it's not really a friendly experience, not all that clear. And it sounds like it's almost missing a trick. It's almost an afterthought in the sense that, yeah, we've got this B2B section for our website. Yes, we probably have got quite a lot of traffic, but we're neglecting it because 80% or so of our stuff is B2C, even though we know traditionally B2B is higher ticket. So it presents higher average contract values and can provide some pretty tasty leads to our sales team. So I think it sounds like it's just a neglect and perhaps lack of understanding from hospitality companies on what actually makes a good B2B element to your website, which we can certainly dive into.
Nice. And one of the reasons why this is so important right now, as I mentioned to you earlier, Sam, is that pre-pandemic, there were more in-house meeting planners that had a lot of experience, that understood the landscape, they understood the process. There wasn't a need to necessarily educate new planners. That has changed. In fact, some of our independent resorts are reporting that half of their business are coming from what's called the non-professional or newbie planners that have little to no experience planning a meeting. They were the administrative assistant. Their CEO came to them and says, "Hey, Sally Sue, congratulations. You're wearing another hat. Find us a venue for our Breaking B2B conference. That's going to be on the East Coast, or actually in the UK. We need to find a venue that's inspirational, that might have some great things for our executive retreat. Sally Sue, please find us a place." Sally Sue's freaking out and she starts searching, and she's not using the traditional channels. She's using Google, Sam. So with a poor experience, and you have a lot of people coming to this section of the website, they're not seeing the information. They're not getting the trust factor, right? They're getting bombarded with an RFP. By the way, this RFP form, Sam, can be 20 forms long.
Oh, a nice small one then.
No way to answer a simple question. Hey, do you have in particular space? Do you have anything? You're forced to fill out this form. Could you imagine what that has on your revenue impact? So could you explain maybe a little bit more about what that might look like?
Yeah, so I suppose there's even, if I may, a few things to consider first and foremost. You told me earlier that usually when you go to hotel sites, it's not even necessarily that clear that there is a commercial element to it. So there is an option to dig out events or host exhibitions or whatever you're planning to set up. In this case, the Breaking B2B Expo in the UK hotel, wherever we're going. So I suppose first and foremost is almost thinking, where can we position that on our website? Whether that is a nice option in the main menu navigation, maybe it's in the hero, or some people call it the top banner area rather, where maybe we just have a section that says commercial, or are you a business, or are you looking for exhibition or a venue space, or something that's clear and concise, just so if when folks land on your website, they realize that there is a B2B element. So if they are looking to set up a venue or something similar, that's prominent, no matter if they're on their mobile or PC, and they can just see it in the menu now. So I suppose that's one thing to consider. And then, like you said, if they're traditionally landing on these pages, and most sites have got it as a super long form, that's just a confusing RFP that I'd imagine will probably scare off a bunch of execs, like you say, if they don't necessarily have the information to fill it out, or they might just think this is going to take me about an hour and a half, so I'm going to leave it. So there's probably quite a few things that you'd want to do. And I would almost take a step back with the page and almost do a little bit of basic research. And that might even be with either my internal team at the hotel. So perhaps I've got sales reps, execs, etc., that are very familiar with the space and renting out the venues and such. And maybe I've got some prospects or existing customers that I can chat to. And the main things we really want to know is, how can we make this page or this section of our website as trustworthy, appealing, and convincing as possible? Because the chances are, if you've just got a page with a form and an RFP submit, it's probably not all that inviting. Whereas when it comes to B2B sites in general, most folks, if it is a case of they need to get more information or they need to make an inquiry, and in this case, they want to rent out a venue, they're probably going to quickly want to get an idea of exactly what it involves, the value that it's going to bring to them, like the specs of the space, what type of use case they can have it for, maybe some examples of what you've done in the past, be that, I don't know, video case studies, brands that you've helped, maybe some customer testimonials of some recognized businesses that have actually rented out and used it, with their maybe a video review, or maybe a nice photograph of them with a text summary of their testimonial saying, this is why we chose them, this was the problems we faced beforehand, this is why we decided to partner with them opposed to the 3 other vendors that we were evaluating. So that's usually what someone's going to want to see on the page, I'd imagine, like a summary of, this is the value proposition, this is how it can help your business with a venue use case, this is another use case, this is another use case, here's some social proof, here's a simple form that we can talk about in a sec. But yeah, if we take a step back to actually make sure that this page is going to be trustworthy and convincing for potential prospects, we want to try and get inside their head a bit. And there's no better way to do that than either talking to our sales team that are actually dealing with these inquiries or these people day in, day out, or if we've got access to existing customers or prospects, that's going to be super useful. So we could basically ask them straightforward questions like, what is important to you when it comes to booking out a venue or booking out a conference in a hotel space? What normally frustrates you about it? And they might bring up things like, oh, the RFP process, or the fact that I normally fill in a form and then wait 5 weeks to get contacted by a sales rep after I fill in the form. Or they might say, it's usually just a really slow process. You email them and it's back and forth, super slow. Or they might say, I land on these pages and sometimes they're just unclear. And also you want to ask things actually relevant to the topic itself. What do you care about specifically when it comes to hiring out a venue? And they might say maybe the squareage, like the square footage, how big it is. They might say what features you've got. So have you got a bar? Have you got a catering? I don't know, these features and these suites, these use cases better than me, Cory, but this is just giving you some examples. And then basically understanding like all these things around what folks care about, because they're from your target market, or your sales team might know it, what they actually want to learn about, see quickly, what frustrates them. So when you're talking to vendors about this kind of stuff, typically what annoys you. So we should make sure we either highlight that we're doing everything in a different way and showcase our points of differentiation. That's the kind of intel you want to gather, really. Just things around what people struggle with, what they care about, what their motivators are. So then we can the reason we're getting those insights is so once we've done, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 interviews or spoken to our own sales team, we can make a list of those things, make a list of the ones that are most prominent, and then that can inform our messaging and our copy, so our content for this page, so we know it's going to hit home with the people we actually want to be selling to. So that's probably a good starting point.
Love it, man. I can just hear you gasp if I tell you social proof, as you just mentioned. We understand how important that is on the B2B side. It is relatively non-existent at hotels. As TripAdvisor, Yelp, we're all absolutely obsessed with looking at reviews when we book a vacation. But on the meetings and events side, there aren't video testimonials. In fact, aside from maybe a few of our partners, it is non-existent. Text-based testimonials, few and far between. Taking that step further, even just basic FAQs. What's the process look like? What are the terminologies? And that's why even the fundamental basics that you talk about a lot, like the must-have checklist on what you need these items on your B2B website. There's so much area of opportunity, and probably a lot of hoteliers don't understand how much money they're leaving on the table. And I know it's hard to measure something like that, but if you were to say a new planner was coming to a site, didn't feel that trust or was engaged with what they saw, and they bounced. And some of these, as you mentioned, and you're absolutely correct, the sale of a B2B on hospitality sale is at least what's six, seven figures. It could be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Huge trust factor there. So I'm assuming, and I don't know if you've done any calculations of how to even calculate in terms of what a type of revenue that you're bleeding off your site, but I would only imagine having a poor experience, you're losing opportunities, correct?
Yeah, even like solid B2B sites are only converting leads at like anywhere between 2 and 5%. So bearing in mind, if you've got a terrible page that just does the raw basics and it's just saying, yeah, we do events and we allow meeting rooms, and then like you say, you've got a traditional form or a super scary RFP, then you're crushing those conversion rates and just, like you say, ruining your chances for those prospects to ever take the time to reach out to your company and have that sales conversation. But yeah, you touched on a good point. The best B2B websites like essentially act as a 24/7 sales rep. So if you
Yes.
can understand probably from your own team, like what are the common questions that we get around venue hire, room hire, whatever we're doing, what are the common objections we get around them and the common frustrations. And if we can address those head on that page, not only is it likely to make us as a business look more trustworthy, more transparent, but also speeds up sales cycles because it saves our sales team answering those questions on calls or back and forth on email. So we can just get all of that out of the way early. Because I'd imagine if someone comes onto this page, there's probably the first few things they're going to ask, if they don't see on the page, the first things they're going to see is, what's the actual feature suite of this venue to hire? Can I see some images of it or some videos? Can you prove to me that you've had client success and maybe share some case studies? How much does it cost? And maybe they've got a couple other questions that you might know a bit better than mine, like what's the time frame? Like how early do we need to book advance? Do I get an account manager to guide me through the process? That kind of stuff. And if you can address all that on page, then you're laughing. And then all you've got to do really is make it easy for them to get in touch and basically do the opposite of what you said with the RFP. And you're probably setting yourself off in a bit of a better foot.
You touched on something about pricing, right? Because there's been a lot of talk about that whole notion of pricing. Would you be surprised to say that I don't think I've ever seen anyone list a ballpark range or anything like that? And in hospitality, marketing is rarely involved with sales. They don't collaborate in that way, where you're absolutely right. If you were to engage your sales team, ask them what objections, barriers, challenges that their prospects are asking, and address those on the website, you would immediately take that website into, you said 24/7 sales assistant, into a next stratosphere, have a direct impact on their numbers.
I think this isn't a issue for just hospitality. This is an issue for B2B companies, be it tech, service, or whatever they might be in. So many are scared to address pricing. But the thing is, it's going to be one of the first questions you get asked on a sales call. Literally, how much does it cost? And a few other bits and pieces. And it's if it's seriously out of budget for these folks, like they're going to self-disqualify anyway. So why not just share it? Even if you just have one landing page that's dedicated to B2B, if you've got an FAQ section at the bottom, just covering those basics, like it could even be a range. It could even say, how much do you folks cost? And it might be, our venue hire is anywhere from 5K to 50K, like book a call with one of our specialists and we can guide you through the process and we can discuss if it's a match for your business or not. I don't understand why you'd be scared to do that, because if someone's only got 1K and you start at 5K,
Totally.
where are they going to muster up the rest from?
It's funny, Sam, my call after this one with you right now, I looked at the life of the lead. This person looked at my pricing page and booked a call with me the very next action they took on my website. And that's the call I'm having right now. So you're absolutely right. Pricing is always part of the conversation. And if you're nowhere near the ballpark, why waste the time and effort? If you don't have the budget, that's not something sales is going to be able to overcome. Unless you have a problem that is so severe, so painful, budget becomes less of an issue. But we're talking about meeting venue here. And I wouldn't necessarily put that in the same category as our business is about ready to shutter their doors type of thing. Yeah.
Like you said, there might be a very rare use case where that is the case, but it's basically a question of, do you want to optimize for quote unquote leads that may or may not become buyers, or do you want to optimize for qualified pipeline, AKA prospects that are much more likely to do business with you and will save everyone time? So it's, yeah, that's it really.
So if you were to give some basic tips on, if you went to those examples of websites I shared with you, and you were to say, here are the first few changes that you can make easily to improve the experience right out of the gate with not a whole lot of effort.
And to give me some context, are we doing this imagining it's like let's imagine we've just hit the website. Maybe they've got in the menu tab, commercial event hire or commercial events.
Most do have a meeting and event in the nav. They do have that section. So
nice.
That is clear for sure. But it's all apart after that.
Okay. So we're doing this on the basis like it's like a landing page and we're going to walk through it.
Yeah. Oh, you want to do that?
Can do. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to take you to just one of the Marriott sites right now. So I landed here. I love this property, Marriott Marquis here in San Diego. So I don't know. Hopefully we're okay doing a little bit of a website breakdown right now. If not, I guess we'll ask for forgiveness later. But it's in their best interest, right? We're just, from an outsider's perspective, we're going to walk through this and make some recommendations or things that we would do differently. I don't think there's any harm in that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. So as you can see here, I clicked on I'm on the meetings and events page. Beautiful property here in San Diego. It's very iconic. And now I'm Sally Sue, administrative assistant, and I'm now come to this page and I'm not exactly sure what to do. I see a little bit of a description here. Then I see square feet, event rooms, see a lot of numbers. Oh, start planning my event. I have a lot of questions, Sam. I'm not sure how to plan my event. I'm not sure this is the right venue yet. Huh. It looks nice. Ooh, look at that. Who wouldn't want to get married there, right?
Some nice visuals at least.
Yeah. Okay. We got a lot of stuff here. Bring your meeting, bring your wedding. I see a lot of, okay. I see information on floor plans and capacity, but shoot, I don't even know how to plan a meeting, Sam. I'm a little confused here. Before I go, what's the first step I just have a basic question. I don't know where to start, Sam. I'm lost.
Yeah. So I think what it does do well is it has some of the feature specs, right? And it has some nice imagery.
Sure.
But I think it lacks the clarity and the almost sales enablement side of the page. So, I mean, from a standpoint, I think if you scroll back to the very top, I think that was just a super large image.
Yep.
So whilst you've got a nice scrolling banner, we're not entirely sure what's on offer here. And
Right.
I'd imagine, like, the thing with websites is that most of the time people never scroll right down to the bottom. So they're it's rare that someone will scroll. I think once you get past a third of the page, like the chances that someone's going to continue scrolling get slimmer and slimmer. So we want to make sure that value proposition or that offering is quite clear in the headline at the top. So whether that is something like book your business event, or whether we double down on what this event venue is usually used for. So whether it is a conference, I don't know, the top conference venue in, where's this location? San Diego Marina.
Yes, sir. Right.
So something that's crisp, clear, to the point on exactly what the offer is, I normally go for in this case. there is a lot of other routes you can take with a headline, but I'd probably go for something that's clear, i.e., the top venue in San Diego Marina for your conference or for your wedding venue or whatever they're focused on. So it's nice and clear, probably as the starting point, and then the imagery. And then maybe a call to action as well, because at the moment it looks like, I think you've got to scroll right down to the bottom to see how to actually book it up.
Yeah. And like I said, Sam, if you worked at the Marriott here and I had a question for you, I don't know how I could even just ask you a basic question. I guess I could click on learn more, but where does this take me? Oh, it's a 3D model here. I'm not quite,
Yeah. So
quite
you've
ready for that.
got a 3D visualizer.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
just,
so a lot of the page it's about, they've got some great imagery, they're listing out the features, but a lot of it is actually addressing what these prospects, these kind of B2B potential clients want to see on this kind of venue. So first and foremost, a clear headline that summarizes this is what the venue's for, then probably a call to action. So you've got an option there if you want to speak to a specialist or something like that, speak to an event specialist or speak to an events hire specialist. And then I'd usually encourage businesses to have that call to action to kind of book some time with a specialist. But obviously that can work if you're a smaller business. But I'd imagine if you're a company like Marriott that's perhaps fielding a few thousand inquiries a day, it might be a bit more difficult. So they might have to have some kind of qualification form or something like that flags up when you hit that call to action button. But then, yeah, as we scroll down, in terms of what's presented, yes, we want nice images with the venue as we go, but we want to address the main things that people care about learning and seeing about pretty fast. So whether that is, at the moment, they've got things like square footage and features. I'd probably encourage to go with the main use cases. Like this can be your great business venue, or this can be for a wedding venue, or this can be for a conference. And then straight away, we'd want some social proof as quick as we can.
Yep.
So whether that is video testimonials from happy businesses, or whether that's nice pictures of the venue hirer with a written testimonial of why they chose them, why they went ahead with them as opposed to other venues, how the event went, and why they recommend. So it's a nice kind of summary that addresses that. And then, like you say, we want to address those common questions. So what have they got at the moment? They're talking about capacity, how to book a meeting, do they provide wedding services? So yeah, really actually addressing, in this case, whatever the sales team at Marriott on the B2B side, what are they getting asked all the time? So are we talking about how much does it cost? Are we giving a range? Are we talking about what capacity we have? Are we talking about the process to book, and really addressing those up front?
yeah, it's like getting back to this. It makes the assumption you're ready to make that decision. I'm not there yet. I got a lot of questions still left unanswered. And ironically, even the social proof that they do have here, which is here, this is not in relation to groups or events. This is for a regular B2C
Yeah.
leisure vacation. And so is this call to action. This is all which is really confusing. This is to book a room in event space. So it's very confusing.
It is. And they could do, like you said, they could do really with almost, appreciate they want to keep it under the main domains. They keep their domain rating and their domain authority, but they probably almost want to make it look like a bit of a sub-site. So the call to actions and the top menu changes a bit, specifically for the
Absolutely.
commercial element. So that, yeah, because that is, like you say, it just lacks clarity, doesn't it? It's not clear on this is the offer. This is what you want to know about the offering. These are the main questions you have. Let's address them and let's walk you through the process if you want to book some time with a specialist to talk about it, or
And
how to
Sam,
set
what
up.
happens when your experience isn't clear?
If you confuse, you lose.
There you go. Love that. All right. So appreciate that quick breakdown of that. That was super insightful. So if somebody came to you, Sam, and said, hey, we really need help on this page, what would be that first or second element or improvement you would make right now? I think obviously social proof is, you've mentioned that, but maybe I'm mistaken. So I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I think a couple of things really. Emphasizing what the actual offering is, doubling down on the use cases. So when we do get these B2B inquiries to hire the venue, what is it actually most commonly used for? Is it for conferences? Is that our number one money spinner? Is it for wedding venues? Is it for events? What is the main one? So we can double down. And if 95% of our business is events, then we say, look, your destination for business events. And that's like the headline or something tailored to that in San Diego, your prime events venue in San Diego. And then we double down on like the benefits of that, what the main features folks look for, whether that is, are they actually bothered about floor space, or are they bothered about the bar, or are they bothered about something else? Let's double down on that. Then let's get like you said, let's bolster the page nicely with social proof. So if we can get a video review where someone talks about why they chose to use them, the benefits of it, why they decided to use Marriott opposed to competitors, and why they'd recommend other folks invest in the offering. If we can get a bunch of different style testimonials, that's going to be awesome. And then if we can address those questions, like we talked about, anything that commonly gets answered on sales calls, whether it's to do with bookings, whether it's to do with pricing, whether it's to do with guarantees, whether it's to do with if you help set up the event or we have to do it on our side, whatever those common questions are, if we can address those, and then making it easy, like you say, because at the moment it's a mix of B2C call to actions and a lack of B2B call to actions. So making it easy for someone to book that time with, if they have got a B2B event specialist, then maybe possibly embedding a calendar if they're a smaller business. But Marriott might want to do a simple form where it just says something like, you're interested in this venue, can you put a bit about your business, leave your name and email, leave a bit more about what you've got in mind for the event, and then we'll be in touch within 24 hours to discuss it further and see if we can help.
Beautiful. Thank you for that breakdown, man. That was fantastic. Hey, I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me. That was super insightful, especially from I love your take on it, because I think oftentimes we get in these siloed, and oftentimes, as I mentioned before we jumped into the call, this industry has benefited for some great times for so long. And it's almost like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. But the buyer has changed tremendously. And I think it's been very insightful to get this from a perspective. Now, imagine if Breaking B2B has a conference and maybe a leadership seminar, maybe you're going to put on an event, right? On that. It's nice to have that through your lens as a potential prospect. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with me. So what are you up to right now, and where can people find you, by the way?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Cory. So essentially, we only really do two main things, and that's either B2B SEO, so helping your business get found on organic search for folks that have high intent or need your offer and are searching for your offering, or we build websites to convert that traffic into a steady flow of leads or inquiries or demo requests, depending on whatever your business is. And there's three main ways that I guess I can help. You can either follow me on LinkedIn, and I share tips and stories and ideas most days. You can try the podcast, which is Breaking B2B, where we do interviews like this with marketing leaders where they share their growth levers. I do solo episodes as well, or you can head to breakingb2b.com and book a call.
Hey, appreciate you spending a few minutes with me, and hopefully third time's a charm.
Yeah, man, bring on round 3.
Right
Just
on.
me.
Thanks, man.